Hello everyone, welcome to my channel A to Z Nursing Notes. I'm Rupinder, and today's video is in continuation with my previous set of videos that is about the CNO registration requirements. And one of the requirement is evidence of practice. So this video is about meeting the evidence of practice requirement. And I would like to thank one of my subscriber for requesting me to make a video on this requirement. So in this video, I will be discussing what is evidence of practice, what are the options available if the evidence of practice is expired, which is like returning to home country or practicing in another category or Touchstone IENCCAP, or you can go for the SPEP program or do the additional nursing education. And I will also let you know about the forms that you have to send for the evidence of practice renewal, right? So let's get started with the video. Now, this requirement is usually met if you have worked in the past 3 years until you are registered with the CNO in in the category. This is the usual scenario because most of the internationally educated nurses, when they start their NNS process, they have either like uh, they started while they are working, or some of them quit before starting with the NNS process. So in both these scenarios, usually if even if the NNS takes 2 years at the max, you still have 1 year with you. So for the CNO process, right? And this requirement is usually met, but there are some cases in which the CNO requirements the evidence of practice requirement, it gets expired in the time you are still meeting the requirements for the CNO registration, right? So in that case, you will have to follow this video to get to know that what are the options available for you so that you can meet your evidence of practice requirement, right? So before we start with that, if you are not a recent graduate, like if you are a recent graduate, then obviously you have the like recent experience or recent working experience, so you need not to meet this requirement. So if you are not a recent nursing graduate and CNO asks you to provide evidence of recent nursing practice, now what all the evidence must include, right? It should like include the past position, like your position as in the nursing field, that is whether you were working as a staff nurse or researcher or as an educational instructor. Then the practice setting in which you were working, like whether you were working in a long-term care home or an acute care hospital or an inpatient unit, right? Or what kind of patient populations you dealt with. You dealt with the elderly people or pediatric population. The evidence of registration in the relevant jurisdiction. So you need to show your evidence of registration also when you give your evidence of practice, right? And the job description. The evidence of practice must be relevant to the category or the class you are applying to join. Like suppose if you are already in Canada, suppose, because this is mostly or in other like except for India, because in India usually there is RN, there's registered nurse, right? So in other countries, if you are having like you are holding the RPN experience, so you cannot provide the RPN experience as an evidence of practice for your RN category, right? So if you are applying for the RN category, you must be providing the experience for the RN category only. So for example, an applicant applying to become a registered practical nurse must provide an evidence of practicing as an RPN within the 3 years of the CNO issuing a certificate of registration, right? So what are my options if my evidence of practice gets expired? So there are multiple options for you to in which you can show or give proof that you have worked in the past recently, right? Because already 3 years have passed, so and you are not still registered with the CNO, so definitely your evidence of practice is expired. So you need to show proofs that you are you are still competent to provide the nursing care. So you can do it by returning to your home country and practicing over there, or by practicing in a different class, but in the same category, right? This I will explain to you in detail a little bit later. Getting touchstone evaluation and achieving prescribed score, then participating in the SPEP program, taking a nursing additional education course with the clinical hours. Now, this is to be highlighted with the clinical hours because you are to show your evidence of practice that you are competent to work as a nurse. So first of all, talking about the returning back to home country for practice. So you need to submit two documents, that is the verification of nursing practice form and the verification of nursing registration form, right? So I will discuss about these two forms in detail at the end of the video. And uh, for this proof, there is no minimum number of hours required for you to show like you have practiced for this minimum hours. There's no specific requirements, no specific requirements for how many like bedded the hospital should be, and there is no proof required of whether like you have gone back to your home country. Like there were like some of my colleagues told me that you have to show your air tickets, your boarding pass and everything as a proof attached along with the other things, so that the CNO accepts that you have been back to your home country. Because I just cross-checked with the CNO customer care and they said that there is no such requirement. Then this is to be noted that even as your experience as a nursing instructor or as a researcher is valid, and even the voluntary experience is also accepted, and you must be registered with the nursing regulatory body back home. This is the something of very much importance, because sometimes we only send the verification of nursing practice form, but then later the CNO asks for the verification of registration form, registration also, right? So you have to ensure that you are registered with back home with your nursing regulatory body. Talking about providing experience by practicing in a different class. Now, practicing as an RN or RPN in the temporary category, like this is recently an option, because you can work as a temporary class in the temporary class if you are meeting all other requirements and you are yet to give your nursing registration exam, that is the NCLEX exam, and you can get yourself registered in the temporary class or the emergency class or special assignment class. In then if you have worked for that class, you can provide your experience as an RN to the CNO for as a proof of evidence of practice, right? So the employer with whom you have worked as a temporary class RN or RPN, you must submit to the CNO the verification of nursing practice form to confirm your practice, right? Next is Touchstone IENCCAP assessment. So a lot of people must not be knowing, but Touchstone is attached with CNO to provide like evaluation for your nursing practice skills. And there is a method in which you can bypass the nursing education requirement by getting the touchstone evaluation done and giving the OSCE and achieving the required score, right? But it's like it has its own evaluation process of like MCQs, and then you have to give the OSCE exam, and then you have to pass it, and they have their own fee of training you, right? So it's an expensive process, but still, if you achieve the required benchmark scores by completing the internationally educated nurses competency assessment program with the Touchstone Institute within the past 3 years, this is also like acceptable. But what are the scores or the benchmark? You have to achieve a score of 3.5 or above in the OSCE and 68% or above in the MCQs evaluation, right? So this requirement is specific only to the RN applications. This is to be specified. So if you are only applying in the RPN category, this option is not for you, right? Another option is to participate in the SPEP program. Now, this option is available only to some of the people, like for the candidates who are just left with their language or evidence of practice. Sorry, if this option is available only to the candidates who have met all the requirements except for either the language, that is, if you have your language score is pending, or if you are evidence of practice has expired, right? This is not for any other candidate. If you are like yet to give your NCLEX exam, this option is not for you, right? So you for this requirement, this is the option is available only to the candidates. The CNO sends the email to the candidates who meet this requirement. So they send you in an email the link for the SPEP program intake form. So you have to fill that program intake form, and this is directly linked with the Ontario Health, and they will match you with the employer, and you can start working in this category. Working in these specific category, and you have to work for at least 140 hours. This is the minimum requirement. Depending upon your capability and your skills, you may be required to work more number of hours, but the CNO minimum requirement is of 140 hours. You are not eligible for SPEP if you are out of practice for more than 5 years. Now, this is this is also an additional requirement. So if even if like there may be candidates who have given their NCLEX exam and who have met all the other requirements, who are just left with their like evidence of practice and language requirement, but like they have quitted working like more than 5 years ago, like they have not been in the field for 6 years, so this option is not for them. So at times you will be wondering like I have not been communicated by CNO that you are eligible for the SPEP program because you have met all other requirements, but still you are like practice is you have not practiced for more than 5 years, so this makes you ineligible for this category. So the last category is the nursing education program. So this is the course and the content, the course content and the number of practical hours depend on the type of registration the applicant is requesting and the number of years you have been out of nursing practice, right? So nursing education program is this option is if it's like it's time consuming and it's expensive because you have to go for the course, you have to work like study for some like 2 semesters minimum for meeting the requirements, right? So this is the I guess I must say this is the last option for most of the candidates, and it depends if you are like working like you are applying for the RN category, the requirements would be different. For the RN category, this would be different. If you have been working for 3 years, you left working 3 years ago, so the requirements are different. If you have been like, you left working 5 years ago, your requirements are different. And if you have not been in practice since 10 years, then the requirements vary again, right? So, for example, completing a post-bachelor's program in your country of origin with a clinical pro component or a master's of science or a PhD in the nursing with a research component, this may meet the requirement. But again, you have to check with the CNO. Now, the CNO has different categories requirements for different candidates. So, if you are an RPN applicant who has not practiced for like 3 to 10 years, you must complete 400 hours of clinical practice, and you have to follow the nursing course content as specified in the slide. Then if you are a nursing RPN applicant who have not practiced for more than 10 years, you must complete 600 hours of clinical practice plus the course content as specified in the slide. Or if you are an RN applicant and you have not practiced in the 3 to 10 years, you must complete 400 hours of clinical practice plus courses in the following categories. And if you are an RN applicant who have not practiced for 10 to 15 years, you must complete 600 hours of clinical practice plus nursing courses in the following categories as specified in the slide, right? And if you are an RN applicant who have not practiced for more than 15 years, you must complete 400 hours of clinical practice plus 300 hours of practical experience and plus the nursing education requirement as specified in the slide, right? So now you can see that the requirements vary as per your work experience when you left working and in which category you are applying for, right? So based on all these options, you can choose whichever option is best suitable for you and decide which category you want to follow, right? And if you are applying for both RN and RPN category, so it is suggestible that you meet the requirement for both the applications by completing the theoretical and clinical practicum and the consolidation hours that are for your RN application. Like for the highest category, if you meet the requirement, it will meet both your RPN and RN requirements, right? Okay, so verification of the nursing practice form. So I will give the link of this form in the description box. You can get copy the link and get this form. Now, the section 1 is to be filled by the applicant, and the section 2 is to be filled by the employer or the agency where the applicant has worked. And this has to be sent by email to the email address that is CNO that is ENP at the rate CNO dot cnomail.org, right? So this in the first section, you have to specify your last name, your first name, your mailing address, the apartment or the unit number, city, province, postal code, and the country. You have to mention your date of birth in the format month, date, and year. Your application number. So if you are applying for your RPN category, write your RPN number, application number. If you are applying for the RN category, write your RN application number. Then any previous name, if you have that, you have to mention. Then the date of employment, like from which date you have started working till which date you are working, right? When was your last shift? Then the category of employment, like you were working as a registered nurse or registered practical nurse. Then you have to declare that your name, I'm seeking registration in Ontario, and read the declaration. And then you have to put your sign and date. Section 2 has to be filled by the employer, and this has to be sent to by the email to the CNO by the employer. So here you have to mention the name of the employer or the agency, its address, city, town, province, postal code, zip or the zip code, the country. And this is now the manager or the supervisor's direct phone number, including the country code. Then the fax number, including the country code, you have to mention. Then the person who is filling the form has to mention the date of employment from and to, the last shift work, the date of the last shift, the category of employment, registered nurse or registered practical nurse or other, position in the nursing, whether working as a staff nurse or clinical instructor, type of practice setting, that is a public health, chronic care, long-term care, or whichever is applicable. Then the type of patient population, adult, pediatric, or mental health. What language did the applicant primarily use for reading, writing, speaking, and listening in the healthcare and practice setting when providing nursing services and interacting with the patients, clients, and other healthcare professionals? That you have to mention. Then, when providing nursing services in this language to these patients, the applicant practice nursing full time. That is whether you are working full time, that is 30 hours or more per week, or part time, that is less than 30 hours per week, or casual. Then, would you like to re-employ this person? If no, explain why. Then the supervisor has to hereby certify that the information given is true and complete. A name of the manager or the supervisor, the title or the designation, then the email address, signatures, and the date, right? So this is about the verification of nursing practice form. Then coming to the verification of the nursing registration form, again, I will be posting the link of this form in the description box. Again, the section 1 is to be completed by the applicant, and section 2 by the nursing regulatory board or nursing registration board, right? So again, it's the same last name, first name, applicant's mailing address, apartment, city, province, zip code, country code, then your date of birth in the format month, date, and year. Then gender, female, male, application number again. If you are applying for the RPN category, write your RPN application number. If RN category, write your RN application number and any previous name you have held. Then there's a declaration. I give your write your name. Then graduated from the right the institute name of the school of nursing, right? Located in the city. You have to mention the city and the country on the following date. That is the date of graduation when you got the degree, right? Then I authorize the nursing registration board. You have to specify the name to provide the information requested in section 2, and you have last is your signatures and the date on which you signed the form. Then the section 2 is to be filled by the nursing registration board, and it has to be sent directly to the College of Nursing, either by the regular mail or by email, right? So it is name of the School of Nursing, location of the School of Nursing, name of the registrant, that is name, your name, then date of completion of the course. Then they have to mention about the type of the program, that is a registered nurse or the registered practical nurse. Was this program recognized or approved in the jurisdiction? So this all has to be filled by the nursing regulatory board. Nothing. This is not your business. So they have to again whoever authorized person is filling this form has to put his signatures. certify it and put the email address, signatures, date, and place the stamp over here and send this completed form to the CNO either by mail or by regular mail. And that's all for this video. Thank you very much.